Hello everyone, welcome to this very simple tutorial and show and tell about how to play Canastra. Canastra is a card game that is very popular in South America. It originated in Uruguay, according to Wikipedia, and it spread around South America, especially in the southern cone, which is the southern bit of South America. Argentina, southern Brazil, Chile. I grew up in southern Brazil, and my parents and relatives were always playing Canastra all the time. So I learned when I was quite young. It's quite a long game sometimes and slightly challenging, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to show you how it's played. I always like to know when I'm learning a new game, what's the objective? Well, the objective is to get rid of your cards first. And when you get rid of your cards, you create combinations. And these combinations get you points. So you play with 11 cards in your hand. And you should try to do combinations. For example, if you have at least 3 cards of the same value, they could be different suits, it doesn't matter. So you can create a row of the same, at least 3, and as many as you want. But of course, there are only 8 numbers, 8 cards of the same value, because we play Canastra with 2 sets of French playing cards. The other option for creating combinations and scoring points is to do a sequence. For example, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then they do have to be all of the same suit. The other objective is you need to do a combination at least 7 cards long, and a 7-card combination is called a canastra. You can only go out, which means to finish all your cards, if you have a canastra, right? So this one, we would still need another card. So if I had a 5, that could go here, or the queen to go here, and then I would form a canastra, and then the 7th card I would put it like this, just so it's easier to see. But you can continue your combination with more than 7. After you have at least 1 canastra, you can have more than 1, and then you can go out. So not all combinations are the same because the cards have different values. And these would determine how many points you score at the end of each round. So let me show you the cards and how many points they are worth. So like I said, it's played with a regular set of playing cards, French playing cards, but we need 2 decks. Excuse this very, very low quality, slightly cringy deck of cards. So I'm going to start with the ace here, although the ace has a little but that I will include later. And then the 2, and the 3, and the 4, 5, 6, Jack or 11, the Queen or 12, and the King or 13. These are all of the same suit because the suits don't matter. The suits don't have different values. So I could be showing you any suits here. The difference, what I think said about the ace, that there's a but, is that the ace is actually the highest, the most valuable card in the deck. So most of the time we consider it that it's actually 14. But it can also be a 1 if you needed to, but it's very rare. Okay, so how are the cards scored? So this is very simple actually. Any card that is above 7 is worth 10 points. The other cards are worth 5 points. The ace is an exception. The ace is worth 15 points. So let's do this. So the ace is worth 15 points. These cards are worth 10 points. And these ones are worth 5 points. We don't play with any jokers, but there is a wild card. A card that can stand in for any other cards, and that is the 2. The 2 can be any card. So the 2 is not worth 5, but it's actually worth 10 as well. Right? So all the ones below 7, except 2, are worth 5 points. Sorry, these are worth 10 points. And the ace is worth 15 points. There are rules about how to use the 2 though. So you can only use 1 in each combination, right? So you could do 4, 5, and this could be a 6, 7, right? You could be of any suit, the 2, but you cannot use another suit. You could be at any suit, the 2, but you cannot use another suit. So as you can imagine, this would probably not be worth many points because 2 of these cards are worth 5 points. And obviously if you have many aces, if you do a whole rows of aces, especially 7 aces, which is possible, then of course you would get a lot of points. So how is the game actually played? Well, it can be played either 1 against 1 person playing against another person, which is entirely possible. Or it can be played 2 teams, 2 pairs against each other. And in that case, you collaborate with your partner and you sit across each other, as is common in partner games. You would of course start by shuffling the cards, and of course there are different strategies to do that and different skills. Some people are really good at that. I'm not very good at that. Hopefully this will make some good sounds. cards are shuffled, you're going to deal 11 cards to each player. So let's imagine that we are playing just me against someone. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If you're playing with 4 people, with 2 teams, you still have the same number of cards, right? Only 2 decks. It doesn't matter if it's just 2 or 4 people. After that, after you have dealt 11 cards to each player at the table, you also have to deal 2 more hands of 11. And that is called the dead hand, which stays at the side, waiting. Okay, so I'm gonna do just 1 hand here, but usually there are 2 waiting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the dead will stay in the corner here, and the rules of the game, the objective is, as I said, you have to go out, you have to use all your cards to create combinations. You must create at least 1 canastra, but actually you have to go out twice. After you finish your first hand, you have to go and collect 1 of the dead hands and continue playing until you finish it. If you're just playing you against another person, there are 2 dead hands here, so each player has a right to 1 of them. And you have to, if you want to win that round, you need to use that. If you're playing with 4 and 2 teams, then each team has a right for that, right? So 2 people of the same team cannot collect both dead hands. And actually, and that's the fun part, the player or the team that doesn't do any of these objectives have to pay for it. So if at the end of a round you don't have a canastra, you have to pay 100 points. You have to deduct 100 points from your points. If at the end of the game you have not collected 1 of the dead hands, you or your team, then you have to also pay 100 points. Very well. So this is how we would work. We would get our hand, which is very well. It's not well shuffled at all, as I expected. 11 cards. You would try to start to make some sense here, right? So I could try, and that's what I would try to do, to have the 4 and 6 close to each other, because I can start to create a sequence here. And the 6 next to the 5 to create a sequence here as well. Of course, I already have 3 5s here, and I could create a row of 5s if I wanted to. But again, I usually find that rows are less rewarding. I also have a king here and another king here. So I'll put this king here. And then the best thing about this hand is that I have a 2, which is a wild card, and I can use it as any card. So probably I could do 4, 5, 6 like this, using the 2 as my wild card. However, and I think you will understand that, it might be wiser to use the 5 and 6 together and use the 2 to do 4, 5, 6. As you could see, the suit of the 2 didn't matter because I was trying to combine it with the clubs anyways. But here it is better because later if I find a 4 and if I find a 3, the 2 will be in its correct place, and then it will be considered a regular 2, and that matters because if you create a canastra 7 cards that has 1 that has a 2 that has a wild card, the canastra is called a dirty canastra and it's only worth 100 points. But if you create canastra only with normal cards, then it's called a clean canastra and is worth 200 points. The 2 here as it is right now, it's working as a wild card. And if I continue and put 4 other cards here to create a canastra, this would be a dirty canastra. But as I was describing, I can clean the canastra by finding the 4 and the 3 and then other cards. And then this canastra would be considered clean because the 2 is in the correct place with the correct suit and will be worth 200 points. At this point is a situation where you could use the ace here if you wanted, in order to create, in order to have 7 cards. The ace could go here. Some people agree that if you start on an ace and you go all the way down into another ace after the king, then that should be worth something else, like a different set of points. But you can agree that before you start playing. So actually I wouldn't start like this. So if it's my turn, I start by getting a card from the pile. This is called buying a card. Even though you don't have to do anything, it's called buying a card. So if you get a card, I got this ace of hearts. So let me see if I want this card for me. So that's very difficult. So the king that I have is of a different suit, so it's not going to combine with it at any point. The other cards with the heart suit are too far away from the ace to be relevant, I think. Okay, let's keep it aside. I have to decide if I want it or not, but I will do my 4, 5, 6. There's no need to, go down, as we say, like this. You could just keep it in your hand and keep it secret from your opponent, of course. So then they won't give you the cards that you need. Sometimes it's too confusing to keep them in your hand. But if you're playing with a partner, then you have to choose on which table, let's say, you are going to put your combinations, yours and your partner's. If it's in front of you or in front of your partner, doesn't matter. And you're working together on you and your partner are working, collaborating on creating the same combinations. So if I have a partner across from me, I would want to put this in front of me so that he or she can see this and maybe they have the 7 or 4, right, and then they can put it here in their turn. So that's why it's much more exciting to play in partners of 4 people. Okay, so after I played, I cannot do anything else really. So now I have to discard a card. It could be any card. It could be the card that I have just bought. Or if I think it is useful, then I can discard something else from my hand that I don't like. But actually, all the other cards in my hand are actually quite nice. I could do 4 and 5 at some point and start a heart sequence. Or I can do a row of 4s. So there are different possibilities here. So it's this card that I don't want. I know that the ace is worth more, but it's just 5 points more than one of these cards. So at this point it's not that important. So I would discard that and it would be here. Face up next to the pile, which we call the trash. Now that there's a card in the trash, people can choose whether to buy or to get the trash. So let's imagine that my opponent bought a card, they had their play, they put down some cards, their own combinations, and then they discarded something. Okay, let's say that they discarded, okay, this is, like I said, not very well shuffled at all. They discarded this. Okay, now it's my turn and I can decide whether I want the trash or whether I want to buy. If I want the trash, I need to get everything. And then I decide what to do, right? From this, the kings are looking really nice, right? Kings are always tricky because they are at the end of sequences, right? So they are less useful than some of the middle cards, like a 7, for example, which is very useful. So it's very common and very good to do rows of kings, and they are each worth 10 points. And now I would have to decide what to discard, and probably going to decide to discard the same card. If I continue playing, and then I start to put down more and more cards, and I have very few cards in my hand, it might happen that there's very few actions I can do, because almost every card that I buy, okay, yes, this, if I buy a card like this, oh, it goes directly here, and then I'll have to decide to discard something, right? In this case, what would you discard? You could discard this one, and then you can hold on to this hoping for a 5, or a 5 of clubs, or you can discard the 6 and wait for a 4. It could be any 4. So in this case, this is a higher probability that you will find a 4. So I would discard the 6, right? So I still have 2 cards. After a while, it may become very difficult because, you know, like if you get this queen, what do you do with this queen? It doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go with your hand. You're not going to exchange this because it's going to make you worse, so you're just going to discard. So it might be that you keep buying and discarding. So at this point, you might have to go to the trash just to get more cards, just to make your life easier. So at some point you may just get, oh no, I am extremely tired of this, I'm just going to get the whole trash. Just try to make sense of all the trash. Sometimes it could be like 10, 15 cards here. And of course you have to leave. Okay, so this looks okay, and then this looks okay. And actually I'm going to give up on the 6 again. There. Actually, this is very stupid if you think about it, because look, the only way I can combine these cards is if I have a King of Hearts, but both Kings of Hearts are already here. There are only 2 Kings of Hearts in the whole game. Okay, so that was stupid of me. And then you keep waiting. If at some point you have used a lot of cards and you have only 1, that's a very interesting position to be in. According to the rules, you can never get anything from the trash when you have only 1 card, because then it would be too easy. That's a very strange position to be in, because then your opponents can discard whatever they want, even if the card goes, even something you need to create a canastra, because you cannot get it. So if you're playing in teams, one opponent can discard a card just so the other opponent, the other person in the team can get it. So they're basically transferring each other's cards to each other, because I cannot get it. So that's a very important part of the game. You have to keep an eye on everybody's table and the combinations they are making, because you're going to have the cards they need and you have to hold on to them. You have to use them or not discard them, because they're going to get them. So at this point, you have to find a card that fits your game. Otherwise, you're going to keep doing this. Okay. Okay, so let's imagine then that finally I found this one, which is an 8. So at this point, this 8 goes, because this 2 here is not stuck here. So I can move the 2 to become a 7, and down here. And then this one I can discard. So what happens now? Have I won? No. I don't have a canastra. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a canastra. I would have to hold on to this, and probably would have to discard this one and just keep like this. But the game's not finished, so I've done this, and then I would get the dead hand. And then I continue playing with the dead hand. And then this is actually usually very exciting, because usually you already have a lot of combinations, and a lot of the combinations are going to, you know, fit with your cards. So again, like I said, not very well shuffled, so we have a bunch of 2s here. This never happens. I would weep in joy if this happened in a real game. But in this case, for example, I have the 7, so I can replace the 2 here, and the 2 can go back to be a 4, and wait to become a 2 at some point. I have another king that I can use. And I have a 9 and a 10 of diamonds that I can wait to see if I can create. But usually when you get the dead hand, you're already usually at the end game, so you're just trying to use as many as your cards in the combinations that you already have. You may start little new combinations, right? So at this point I cannot go out and finish this round, because I still don't have a canastra, right? So I could do, because I have a bunch of 2s, 9, 10, 11. So usually what needs to happen is that I discarded this 4 when I finished my first hand, and then it's other people's turn, everyone else goes, and then now it's my turn to start with my dead hand. And usually you would have to start by buying or getting trash before you do all that I did just now. Right? So this is a very good card for me, as you can see. So I had the 7, so I put the 7 here and the 2 up there, and then I can put the 9 here. And now I have 6 cards, so I almost have canastra here. And then I've created this new sequence here as well. You can create sequences of 2s if you want, like 3 or 4 2s. Of course, that's desperation when basically you're too rich because you have too many wild cards and you need to go out. So you would do that, but that's usually not necessary. So even in a state of desperation, there's nothing I can do with these cards. I guess I could do 2, 3, 4 by treating this one as a 3 and this one. This one is a 3, this one is a 2. Okay, let's do this. Why not? So this is a 2. Let's put it here. This one's a 2. Now this one is a 3. And this one is a 4. This one will never be clean, right? Because it already has it too. This one may one day be clean. Great, and now I have to discard something, right? I would probably discard the 10, because it's very unlikely that it's going to be useful for me, because I already have a 10 of diamonds here. Of course, all of this has to be decided in relation to your opponent's game. Okay, then everybody goes again, and then it's our turn to buy. This doesn't go anywhere. It's a different suit here. This is too far away. I could decide to change and keep this and throw this and discard this one, but I don't want to, so I will just do this, right? I'm just holding onto my cards. Then everyone else plays again, and then it's me again. Then I will buy. Aha! My horribly shuffled pile of cards has helped me again. Of course, that's not usually how you would play. People would complain if you had a pile this badly shuffled. But then this card here forms 7 cards. And then you can do this to show that you have created a canastra. And then now I have to discard something, which is always stressful because I would have to be with a single card, so it means that I cannot get anything from the trash now. And of course this card is not very good because it doesn't go anywhere, so it would be very difficult. So basically I could only hope that I would get another card that would go with my game. So imagine everyone else, and then me again. This could almost go. Oh no, it does, it can go. Look. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah. And then I can discard this one, and I have finished, and I have won this round. Okay. So what happens now? It's that everyone would have to count the cards that they hold in their hands according to the points that I explained. How many cards, how many points each card is worth. They would have to count, and they would have to discount these points from their combinations, right? So for example, if you have 15 points in your hand, so you can just come here and say, oh, 10, 15. So you can just remove this and not count these. I have won this round for myself, if I'm playing by myself, or for my team, right? So I would have to discount the cards that my partner is holding. So usually you collaborate and you see how many cards your partner has, because you don't want to go out when your partner has too many cards, because they're going to be deducted from your team's points, right? Also, if the other team or your opponent, if they don't have a canastra, they would have to start from negative 100, and if they haven't got the dead hand, they would also have to pay 100. In my case, I'm going to start from 100 points because I have 1 canastra. It's a dirty canastra because the 2 here is a wild card, so 100 points. And also, I won this round, I went out, so that's also 100 points, right? I don't get any points from collecting the dead hand because that's my obligation, right? So then you just get all of the cards. So remember, I have 200 points. And then you would count them. This is how I count them. So I count each of these cards as 1, right? And then when you reach a card that's worth less than 1, you hold on to it and you wait for another card that's worth 5 to count them together. So like this. So usually usually good Canasta players, they already know how to do this really quickly. And so I usually do this very quickly, and I usually count in Portuguese. So I'm going to try to do it quickly and count in English. I'm sorry if it is maybe not relaxing, but it's more realistic. It will be something like, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that's 170 points. Now add the 200 that I have, so in total 370 points that I got in this round. Then you get a little notebook, and then you write how many points you or your team got and your opponent. 370 for me, and they probably got way less than that because they had to pay maybe for not doing any canastras. Maybe they got 200 points. This was a very simple and shortened game that I just played. Usually people score more points than that. It's usually to score like almost 1,000 points in one round like this. So the objective of the game is usually to reach 2,000 points, but you can decide this with your with your colleagues, with your friends, if you want to reach 3,000 or 5,000, right? There are usually different rules that happen at different points. So usually, for example, after any teams of players, they have more than 1,000 points, they are in the hole, as we say, and they can only start going down, they can only start putting down combinations after they have 100 points in cards to put in combinations. So it's annoying because you have to keep counting in your hand to see if you can go down with that. And that applies for you and your partner. So after either you or your partner reaches that level, that number of points, then your partner can start putting down as well. So when playing as a partner, this is very, very annoying to be in the hole, because then you have to play only in your hand, and you want to show your combinations to your partner so that he or she can help you with them, but no, you cannot put down, you have to wait. The number of points that you need to be allowed to put down combinations when you're in the hole may change depending on the rules. It might be 85, I think it's also common. And then usually when you put down, your opponents check to see if you really have the necessary points to start. So this is very interesting because if you do really well in the beginning, you can reach 1,000 points first, but then you are in the hole, and that kind of sets you back a little because it makes the beginning of the next round really slow for you, and then your opponents can catch up, and if they're smart, they are able to finish and go down and go out before you do anything, so you have a bunch of cards and you lose a bunch of points, so they can catch up with you in points if one team is in the hole and the other isn't. So it's exciting like this. And that's how you play Canastra. So there are a lot of little jokes and little inside jokes that you're going to start to create with your own friends when you start playing. Things that you say to your partner. Sometimes you have little fights with your partner because you think they're not helping you enough. But it's a really social game, and it's really good to spend, whole evenings playing more than one game, and you can agree that whichever team loses has to do the dishes, for example, which is something that my family did a lot. And you can play as you're having a drink, and even telling some stories. It depends on how serious you want to play. Right? Some of my relatives were really annoying, they didn't want to be distracted, but some people most of the time they're really, really funny. And you can get really competitive and you want to do a rematch. No, let's do another one because I want to win. And you can change teams, of course. Yeah, so it can be quite long to reach 2,000 points. It can take more than an hour. So if you play, I don't know, 3 games, you can take hours and hours playing this. It's actually a lot of fun. And like I said, very popular in South America. I know that there are different games that are similar. I've looked into them. I know that there's a game called Canasta without the R, but it's different. When I looked into the rules and find online games to play, it was different. So this is what Canastra looks like. There might be some more minor rules for some unexpected situations that come up. But I cover the basics. So if you start playing with your friends or family, you can invent your own rules, or you can look up to see what kind of rules, for different situations. But very quickly you start to realize what the best strategies are. Some people, they're always collecting things from the trash. Some people don't. Some people, they are very long-term planners and they keep cards in their hands, waiting for a special card that's going to make everything better and everything work. Some people are less patient and they try to do what's in front of them. And it's fun to find out exactly how you play, how is your style of play, and your partners, and what's the best person, to play with, who's a really good partner. Sometimes two people find each other and they can win everything because they're just really good. And some people are just weirdly lucky. I can't explain it. Some people have a talent for getting from the pile, always getting a wild card or something. So I hope you enjoyed this, and that I hope that you get to try to play Canastra at some point. And tell me if you have any other favorite card games that you play. Thank you.